It's a baby woolly mammoth straight out of the Ice Age.
But they're able to determine that Nunchoka is a female, and she was only about a month old when she died. They estimate that she died around 30,000 years ago.
You've probably forgotten meat in your freezer for a couple of weeks, but for Earth, it froze entire mammoths for thousands of years. Thanks to permafrost, nature's primal freezer, we've uncovered prehistoric animals so well preserved, it's almost creepy. Fur, skin, teeth, even whiskers still intact. These aren't dusty bones. They're full-on time capsules from the Ice Age. Here are the 9 prehistoric animals found frozen in ice. Number 9. Sabertooththed Tiger Cub. In 2020, deep in the Siberian wilderness along the Badiarika River, a group of tusk hunters stumbled on something so bizarre it froze them in their tracks. Lodged in the permafrost was a baby saber-toothed cat, perfectly preserved, tiny claws still curled, whiskers still intact. This was not some fossilized bone or crumbling skeleton. This was a frozen predator cub with a face you could still recognize. Scientists quickly identified it as a species called Homotherium latidens, also known as the scimitar-toothed cat. Think of it as the sleeker, faster cousin of the more famous Smilodon. But unlike Smilodon, Homotherium didn't go for brute force ambushes. It was built for the long chase. Muscular limbs, powerful shoulders, and serrated canines shaped like steak knives. And this little cub, it was only about 3 weeks old when it died. Now here's where it gets freaky. CT scans revealed the cub's skeleton was fully intact, right down to the tiny ear bones. Its fur, a deep chocolate brown, still measured between 20 and 30 millimeters in length. Even the paw pads and sharp, retractable claws were undamaged. Most remarkably, the skin around its face had not decayed. That means we know exactly what it looked like when it was alive. Its anatomy revealed something else. This species had adapted to cold, snowy terrain. The cub's large paws lacked carpal pads, which would have allowed it to move easily across slippery or frozen surfaces. It had a thick neck and long forelimbs designed for grappling. Even the muscles still showed signs of how this little predator was built to grow into a killing machine. Radiocarbon dating placed its death between 35,471 and 37,019 years ago, right in the middle of the late Pleistocene. That means this creature walked the earth while humans were still figuring out how to make needles. And yet, despite the passage of more than 300 centuries, this cub never decayed. The permafrost had locked it in time like nature's cryogenic chamber. But the mystery doesn't end there. Only one cub was found. No mother, no den, no siblings. So what happened? Did it freeze to death in a snowstorm? Fall into a crevice? Or was this the site of some prehistoric disaster? We may never know. What we do know is this. Never before has a saber-toothed cub of this species been found in such pristine condition. It's the closest thing we have to time travel, peering into the frozen face of a predator that once ruled an icy world. Number 8. Cave lion. In the icy grip of Siberia, mammoth tusk hunters stumbled on something that looked more like a sleeping kitten than a long-extinct beast. But this wasn't just any feline. This was Panthera spelaea, the Eurasian cave lion, and the cub they found, later named Sparta, had been frozen in perfect condition for approximately 28,000 years. Let that sink in. 28,000 years. And her fur? Still golden. Whiskers intact. Paw pads soft. Even the internal organs had barely decayed. In fact, scientists called her the best preserved Ice Age animal ever discovered. Sparta was found in 2018 along the Semyelyak River in Yakutia. But here's where things get even more incredible. Just 1 year earlier, and only 15 meters away, another cub was found. He was named Boris. For a while, researchers thought they might be siblings, but radiocarbon dating told a different story. Boris had died over 43,000 years ago. That's more than 15,000 years before Sparta was even born. Both cubs were estimated to be just 1 to 2 months old when they died. No wounds, no signs of trauma. It's believed they were buried suddenly, maybe in a landslide or as the ground beneath them collapsed. And thanks to Siberia's permafrost, their tiny bodies were frozen before decomposition could even begin. But these weren't just cute Ice Age kittens. Cave lions were apex predators, larger and more muscular than modern African lions. Some stood over 3.5 feet at the shoulder and weighed as much as 800 pounds. Unlike the lions of today, they were adapted for cold climates, covered in thick fur, and built with powerful limbs for tackling prey across snowy tundras. The preservation of Sparta and Boris is more than a miracle. It's a scientific goldmine. Through CT scans and DNA testing, researchers have been able to study their bones, muscles, organs, and even potential traces of mother's milk inside Sparta's stomach. It's a rare look at how these long-lost creatures lived, moved, and died. And perhaps the most haunting detail? The expressions on their faces. Sparta looks like she's sleeping, lips relaxed, eyes shut, as if she's about to wake up. These cubs prove just how advanced and specialized cave lions were, built for a world now buried under thousands of years of ice and silence. Number 7. Prehistoric Horse. No one expected to find blood, especially not in an animal that had been dead for over 42,000 years. But deep in Siberia's Badagyka crater, that's exactly what scientists discovered inside the perfectly preserved body of a prehistoric foal: blood, organs, skin, hair, everything. This was no fossil. This was a time capsule with a heartbeat long gone, but evidence of life still written in every cell. The foal belonged to an extinct species called Equus linensis, known as the Rhino horse. It lived during the late Pleistocene, an Ice Age predator's playground, when temperatures were brutal and survival meant adaptation. This foal had been barely 2 weeks old when it died, likely falling into soft mud and freezing before decomposition could begin. That accident preserved it so well that even the tiny hairs inside its nostrils remained. Its golden brown coat was untouched by time. Its mane still curved along its small neck. The hooves were smooth. The internal organs, fully intact. This isn't exaggeration. It's a scientific marvel. In fact, researchers were able to extract actual liquid blood from inside the foal's heart, making it the oldest blood sample ever recovered from a prehistoric animal. The crater where it was found, called Badagyka, is expanding every year as climate change melts the permafrost. Locals call it the gateway to the underworld. It peels back layers of earth that haven't been exposed for tens of thousands of years. This is where science meets something almost mythical. Because inside this yawning wound in the earth, we're not just finding bones. We're finding entire creatures, frozen mid-story. What sets this horse apart from the ones we know today? For starters, it was more compact, with thicker bones, denser muscles, and a heavier winter coat. It had wide hooves, perfect for plowing through snow and frozen soil. Unlike modern domestic breeds, Equus linensis had no human intervention shaping its evolution, only nature, ice, and time. Genetic analysis has placed this species on a unique branch of the equine family tree. It split off from the ancestors of modern horses around 115,000 years ago. That makes this foal a crucial missing link in understanding how horses evolved under environmental extremes, and possibly how they could evolve again. And yes, scientists have talked seriously about cloning it. With blood cells and soft tissues so well preserved, researchers believe the Rhino horse could someday walk the earth again, not just in textbooks or museums, but in flesh and bone. Number 6. Baby woolly mammoth. Snow was still falling when a reindeer herder named Yuri Kuti noticed something strange poking out of the ground near the Uribe River in Russia's Yamal Peninsula. At first glance, it looked like a smooth log wrapped in frost. But when he stepped closer, what he found was not wood, it was skin. That log turned out to be a baby woolly mammoth, so perfectly preserved, it still had eyelashes. The calf, later named Liuba after the herder's wife, had been locked in ice for roughly 42,000 years. She was no more than 30 to 35 days old when she died. Her body had been naturally mummified by the permafrost, and when scientists examined her, they were stunned. Liuba's eyes were intact. Her trunk had not decomposed. Even the inside of her mouth still held traces of her mother's milk. At just over 130 centimeters in length and standing 85 centimeters tall, she was about the size of a large dog. But her impact on science was massive. CT scans and endoscopic studies revealed organs, muscle structure, and bones that looked like they belonged to an animal that had died only yesterday. Her skin was unusually intact thanks to lactic acid-producing bacteria that had invaded her body after death. Essentially, Liuba had been pickled, her body preserved from the inside out. What killed her is just as fascinating. Mud was found in her airway and lungs, leading experts to believe she suffocated after falling into a riverbank or a sinkhole. Her body was quickly sealed off from air and bacteria by the surrounding wet sediment, which helped preserve her in near-perfect condition. Inside her stomach, researchers found partially digested milk, proving she had just fed before her death. Even more unexpectedly, they also discovered traces of fecal matter in her intestines. That might sound unsettling, but it actually fits with what we see in modern elephants. Baby elephants eat their mother's dung to develop the gut bacteria needed to digest tough vegetation. Liuba had already begun that process, showing how quickly mammoth calves adapted to life in the Ice Age. Liuba has since been moved to the Shemenovsky Museum in Salikard, Russia, where she remains one of the most studied Ice Age specimens in the world. She's been examined everywhere from the Jiki University School of Medicine in Tokyo to GE Healthcare Labs in Wisconsin. Each scan, each test, has helped researchers uncover how mammoths lived, grew, and even how they might be brought back through de-extinction research. And yes, there have been talks of cloning. With tissue this complete and DNA this well-preserved, scientists have seriously considered using cells from Liuba and other mammoth remains to revive the species. Whether that happens or not, one thing is certain: Liuba changed everything. Number 5. Woolly Rhino. It's rare enough to find a frozen mammoth, but a baby woolly rhinoceros still wearing its Ice Age fur? That was unheard of, until Sasha. In 2014, a family of hunters in Russia's Yakutia region stumbled across something strange near the Semyulyak River. What they first thought was just another ancient carcass turned out to be the only known mummified baby woolly rhinoceros ever found. She was quickly named Sasha, and everything about her changed what scientists thought they knew. Radiocarbon dating revealed that Sasha had been buried in the permafrost for approximately 34,000 years. She was just about 7 months old when she died, yet she already measured nearly 5 feet in length and stood over 2 feet tall at the shoulder. That growth rate tells us something important. Woolly rhinos had to grow fast. In a world where Ice Age predators were everywhere and winters could be deadly, survival meant getting big, quickly. What stunned scientists most wasn't just the preservation, it was the detail. Sasha still had thick, strawberry blonde fur. Her skin, hooves, even tiny ear folds were intact. Her internal organs were so well preserved that scientists could analyze her lungs, stomach, and even tissue samples for ancient DNA. On her snout, the bases of 2 small horns had already begun to form. These weren't just for show. Adult woolly rhinos use their horns to clear snow and defend themselves. That Sasha had already begun growing hers by 7 months shows how early these animals had to be ready for the dangers of the Ice Age. The cause of her death remains uncertain. There were no signs of injury or predation. Some researchers believe she may have drowned in a river or bog, her body then sealed by layers of ice. Whatever the cause, the permafrost acted like nature's freezer, locking away her body in near-perfect condition. Before Sasha, almost everything we knew about woolly rhino calves came from bits of bones and teeth. Sasha changed that. Her discovery gave researchers the first full view of how these animals grew, what they looked like as juveniles, and even what they might have eaten. It also opened the door to new genetic studies that could help reconstruct the evolutionary history of the rhinoceros family. Sasha is now housed at the Academy of Sciences in Yakutsk, where she continues to be studied by paleontologists from around the world. Her discovery wasn't just rare, it was revolutionary. She's helped fill in a missing chapter of Ice Age life, especially for a species that vanished around 14,000 years ago. Number 4. Steppe bison. When a group of miners struck something unusual in the frozen ground near Fairbanks, Alaska, in 1979, they expected rock, or maybe ice-locked wood. What they uncovered was far stranger. It was flesh, thick, cold, heavy, and it was blue. Not gray, not the dusty brown of age. Blue. Scientists who examined the remains quickly learned the reason. A rare mineral called vivianite had formed as iron in the bison's decaying tissue reacted with the phosphate-rich soil. That chemical reaction gave the carcass its ghostly blue hue. It was eerie, beautiful, and unforgettable. They named him Blue Babe, a play on the folklore figure Babe the Blue Ox from Paul Bunyan tales. But unlike the legend, this was no myth. Blue Babe was real, and he had been frozen in Alaska's permafrost for nearly 36,000 years. He was a steppe bison, Bison priscus, a now extinct giant that once dominated the tundra during the Pleistocene epoch. These animals stood over 6 feet at the shoulder and weighed up to 2,000 pounds. They were built for survival, with shaggy coats, thick hides, and powerful muscles made for withstanding cold winds and outrunning Ice Age predators. But what made Blue Babe extraordinary wasn't just his size, it was his condition. His skin was still attached to muscle. His ligaments were preserved. His tendons still had elasticity. Even his tongue had survived the freeze. Inside his stomach were traces of his final meal, dry grass, nearly identical to the tundra grass still growing in parts of Alaska today. The cause of death told a violent story. Claw marks and deep punctures scarred his shoulders and neck, wounds that only a large predator could inflict. Based on the spacing of the marks, researchers believe he was attacked by a pack of Ice Age lions. These enormous cats, some weighing over 500 pounds, could bring down prey even as large as a bison. It's believed Blue Babe died from blood loss before freezing in the Arctic cold. The timing of that freeze was key. His body was buried quickly, halting decomposition almost instantly. For thousands of years he lay there, untouched, preserved in nature's own cryogenic chamber. When he was unearthed, he became one of the best preserved Pleistocene mammals ever discovered in North America. Today, Blue Babe rests at the University of Alaska Museum in Fairbanks. His mounted figure stands tall, powerful, and just a little bit blue. But one detail of his story still surprises people. After extensive study, researchers cooked a small piece of his neck muscle into a stew. They actually ate him. According to those who tried it, the meat was chewy, earthy, and tasted a bit like ancient freezer burn, but it was edible. Number 3. Wolf pup. Gold miners in Yukon were expecting treasure, but what they dug up instead was something far more valuable, at least to science. In 2016, while working in the Klondike goldfields near Dawson City, they uncovered the mummified remains of a baby wolf. She was curled up, as if simply napping, with her fur, skin, tiny teeth, and even her whiskers preserved in pristine condition. She was named Jour, which means wolf in the hen language spoken by the Trondheim people of the region. Radiocarbon dating placed her at 57,000 years old, making her the most complete Ice Age wolf ever discovered anywhere in the world. Jour was only about 7 weeks old when she died. Based on the condition of her bones and the tissues inside her chest, scientists believe she died suddenly, most likely when her den collapsed. The rapid burial, combined with the cold of the permafrost, sealed her body away from time and decay. Her eyes are missing, but almost everything else remains. Fur is soft and dense, muscles still wrapped around her tiny skeleton. Even her internal organs are mostly intact. She looks like she could still be breathing. Analysis of her teeth and hair gave scientists a surprise. Unlike what many expected from Ice Age wolves, who were thought to mostly hunt mammoths, bison, and other large prey, Jour's diet included a lot of fish, salmon specifically. That meant her mother likely hunted near rivers, or perhaps scavenged during seasonal fish runs. This was a detail that rewrote the playbook on Pleistocene wolf behavior. Her DNA offered even more insights. Jour didn't belong to a modern wolf lineage. She was part of a now-extinct population that roamed a region called Beringia, an Ice Age landmass connecting what we now call Russia, Alaska, and Canada. These ancient wolves were genetically different from the ones we see today, meaning they were likely replaced by other wolf populations after environmental changes and extinction events reshaped the landscape. Jour's body also revealed how Ice Age wolves may have physically differed from modern ones. She had thick fur suited for freezing climates, robust limb bones, and small, sharp teeth already coming in, hinting at the rapid development these predators needed to survive in an unforgiving world. Today, Jour is housed at the Yukon-Beringia Interpretive Center in Whitehorse. Number 2. Atherican Bear. In 2020, reindeer herders exploring Bolshoi-Liakovsky Island stumbled upon an astonishing sight protruding from the permafrost, an ancient bear, whole and intact. At first, researchers thought it might be a cave bear, a long-extinct Ice Age predator. But as the body thawed and the evidence came into focus, it turned out to be something just as remarkable, a brown bear, preserved since the Bronze Age. They named it the Atherican Bear, after the nearby Bolshoi Atherican River. Estimated to have died around 3,460 years ago, this young female bear was about 2 to 3 years old when she met her end. She stood around 5 feet tall and weighed approximately 170 pounds. She was neither old nor fully grown, and based on trauma found in her spine, it's believed she may have died from an injury, possibly a fall, or even an encounter with another predator. But what made this discovery so spectacular wasn't just her age. It was the level of preservation. Her nose was intact, her teeth were complete, her organs were still soft. Even her brain, in part, had survived. The scientists who examined her were stunned. This wasn't just a skeleton, it was a mummy of muscle, skin, and bone. Inside her stomach were feathers and bits of plants, providing an immediate snapshot of her final days. The remains of small birds and greenery showed that, much like modern brown bears, she was an opportunistic feeder, able to eat both meat and vegetation, depending on what was available. Genetic testing revealed she was closely related to modern brown bears that still roam parts of northeastern Russia. She wasn't an extinct species, but she was from a time so distant, humans were still building megalithic monuments and forging bronze tools. And yet, here she was, preserved better than most museum taxidermy. Her remains were dissected and studied at the Yakutsk Mammoth Museum and the Lazarev Mammoth Laboratory. Everything from her muscle fibers to her gut microbiome is being analyzed to understand how animals adapted to the environmental conditions of the past and how they might help us predict the future. Number 1. Celerican Horse. It was January of 1968 when gold miners working near the Celerican River in northeastern Siberia struck something solid beneath the ice. What they unearthed wasn't a rock or a fossil or even bones. It was the body of a horse, perfectly preserved, skin still clinging to muscle, hair still on the legs, and organs still sealed inside a chest that had stopped breathing thousands of years ago. This was no ordinary Ice Age relic. This was the Celerican Horse, a stallion frozen in time for tens of thousands of years, and it wasn't a foal. This was a mature adult, roughly 7 to 8 years old at death, standing about 4.5 feet at the shoulder. It belonged to an extinct species known as Equus linensis, a tough, thick-set cousin of modern horses that once roamed the Pleistocene tundra of Eurasia. The cold had done its job well. The permafrost had sealed this animal like a biological time capsule. Inside its stomach, scientists found ancient grass, twigs of dwarf willow, and remnants of sedge, an Ice Age menu that revealed exactly what the horse had eaten before it died. Its teeth showed signs of wear consistent with grazing. Even the shape of its hooves told a story. This horse had used its feet to paw through snow and find food beneath the ice, just like the modern Yakutian horses still living in the Russian north. But how did it die? The position of the body and several broken bones suggest it may have fallen into a bog or become trapped in unstable ground. It likely died quickly. The freezing Siberian air took over from there, stopping decay, sealing skin, and preserving this powerful animal for over 30,000 years. Its coat was likely a light bay or dun color, with darker markings on the mane and legs, adaptations that helped it blend into the snow-dusted steppe. These horses were short but rugged, built for endurance more than speed. Their thick builds and low metabolic demands made them ideal for surviving the brutal cold of the late Pleistocene. What makes the Celerican horse so important isn't just its preservation, it's its DNA. Just like the Lena horse, it split off from the lineage of modern horses over 115,000 years ago. It represents a lost branch of the horse family tree. Today, the remains of the Celerican horse are held in Russia, where they continue to be studied. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.